The Supreme Court has delivered a landmark 6-3 ruling, fundamentally shifting the balance of power in Washington. The decision grants the president sweeping new authority to remove officials from independent federal agencies at will, dismantling a precedent that stood for nearly a century. This change arrives amid fierce national debate over gun control, giving the president a direct path to shape agency leadership, and by extension gun policy, without resistance. Dissenting justices warn, this erodes the independence Congress intended, turning regulatory bodies into extensions of presidential will. The ruling sets the stage for a dramatic transformation in how America governs itself, especially on contentious issues like the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court's landmark decision has fundamentally altered the balance of power in Washington, tearing down the wall that once separated the president from more than 50 independent agencies. For decades, these agencies operated with a degree of autonomy, designed to insulate their work from direct political influence. Now that independence has been dramatically curtailed. The White House can now demand ideological conformity from agency heads, ensuring that their actions and decisions align closely with the president's political agenda. This shift gives the Oval Office unprecedented reach into the day-to-day workings of the federal government. When it comes to gun policy, this means a president can now install loyalists across agencies like the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Product Safety Commission, agencies that play a crucial role in regulating products and protecting consumers. These loyalists can be used to advance or block gun regulations, depending on the administration's stance, effectively turning independent agencies into instruments of executive power. The ripple effect doesn't stop there. Agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Communications Commission, which may seem far removed from gun policy, are now also subject to the president's influence. This makes gun policy a government-wide effort, shaped and coordinated by the president's agenda, rather than a patchwork of independent decisions. Agency officials, now serving at the president's pleasure, may feel pressure to prioritize political loyalty over objective analysis, potentially sidelining expert judgment in favor of partisan goals. The result is that future gun regulations, whether expanding or restricting rights, will increasingly reflect the Oval Office's priorities, not the careful deliberation and expertise Congress once intended these agencies to provide. The politicization of expertise is now a permanent feature of the federal landscape, raising profound questions about the future of independent governance in America. The Department of Justice, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, is now the president's chief enforcer, coordinating gun policy across a newly compliant regulatory state. Whether cracking down on ghost guns or halting enforcement, the DOJ can expect full cooperation from other agencies, making the Attorney General a pivotal figure in the gun debate. This centralization strengthens the DOJ's hand in court, as every agency now speaks with one voice, defending the president's agenda as a unified front. The DOJ's priorities will dictate the national enforcement landscape, shifting dramatically with each administration. The result, a more partisan, volatile, and unpredictable regulatory environment for gun policy. In a parallel ruling, the Supreme Court has sharply limited federal judges' ability to issue nationwide injunctions. Now, a court victory against a federal gun regulation only applies to the parties in that case, not the entire country. This forces advocacy groups to file multiple lawsuits in different jurisdictions, making legal challenges more complex and costly. The federal government can continue enforcing its policies elsewhere while litigation drags on, giving the administration time and leverage. State attorneys general will become key players, leading coalitions to challenge or defend federal gun policies. The fight over gun control is now a fragmented, state-driven battle, deepening America's legal and political divides. The Supreme Court's recent rulings have dramatically redrawn the legal map of the United States, creating a complex and ever-shifting patchwork of gun laws and enforcement. Now, the rules can change dramatically depending on where you live or where a case is filed. In some regions, federal gun laws are actively enforced, with local courts and law enforcement upholding new restrictions and regulations. But in other areas, those same laws are blocked or even struck down, leading to a confusing and inconsistent legal landscape. This fragmented system closely mirrors the nation's deep political divides, with liberal and conservative judicial circuits taking sharply opposing stances on gun regulations. As a result, lawsuits are now being strategically filed in jurisdictions seen as more favorable to one side or the other, turning the federal court system into a sprawling battleground for gun rights and gun control advocates alike. This has led to prolonged legal chaos, with multiple cases moving forward at different speeds in different parts of the country, creating uncertainty and confusion for everyone involved. the Department of Justice now finds itself fighting legal battles on multiple fronts, often having to defend the same law in one region while seeing it struck down in another. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans are left in a state of uncertainty, unsure which laws apply to them and what the future holds. Only the Supreme Court can ultimately resolve these deep conflicts, but that process could take years, leaving the nation's gun laws in limbo for the foreseeable future. The Supreme Court's decisions reach far beyond gun control, fundamentally altering the structure of American government. The president can now reshape policy on everything from environmental protection to healthcare by removing agency heads who resist their agenda. The court's recent rulings signal a shift toward centralized executive authority and away from independent, expert-driven agencies. Limiting nationwide injunctions makes it easier for any administration to implement its agenda, reducing checks on presidential power. The result is a volatile system where federal policy swings dramatically with each new president. Stability has given way to a regulatory environment defined by political power, not expertise. The Supreme Court's recent decisions have cast a long shadow over the future of the Second Amendment, creating a climate of deep uncertainty. By shifting the balance of power, the court has concentrated significant authority in the executive branch, leaving many to wonder how future administrations will interpret and enforce gun laws. The president now wields unprecedented influence over the direction of gun policy in America. With each new election, the stakes grow higher, as both gun rights supporters and gun control advocates recognize that the outcome could dramatically reshape the nation's approach to firearms. Every presidential term now has the potential to bring sweeping changes, making the political landscape more volatile. Both sides of the debate, those fighting for gun rights and those pushing for stricter controls, are forced to adapt. They face a maze of shifting legal strategies, fragmented court battles that play out in different states, and the growing necessity to build broad coalitions at the state level. The path forward is more complex than ever before. The center ground in American politics has shrunk dramatically. The fight over guns has become a high-stakes, deeply partisan struggle, with each side digging in and tying their fortunes directly to the presidency. Compromise is rare, and the debate is more heated and divisive than ever. The legal landscape is now more polarized and unpredictable than at any point in recent memory. State laws vary widely, and court decisions can shift the ground beneath advocates' feet overnight, making it difficult to predict what comes next. As the battle over the Second Amendment intensifies, the Supreme Court's rulings ensure that this issue will remain at the very heart of America's ongoing political wars. The uncertainty ahead promises more conflict, more debate, and a future where the stakes have never been higher.